This is where I'm at so far with the cyberpunk street scene. And you can see some signs here. These are just sort of stand-ins right now. They have 3D text. I just wanted to see what it would start to look like. But I do have a number of signs, and I want to work on those right now. But I'll also tell you that I did a little bit more modeling down here, and I've got some stairs and an archway, and I think I'm pretty much done most of the modeling. There's a couple other pieces that don't show up in here, and it's really time to start getting into the texturing, aside from like maybe doing the garbage cans a little bit differently. So what I want to do in this video is I want to work on some signs. I've got 4 different signs here that I want to create all sort of together in Substance Painter. Now you can sort of easily do stuff in Blender, and that's pretty much what I did over here. All right, but I want to do these, and I've got them each with their own material. So this is sign 1, sign 2, sign 3, and all the parts of this are sign 4. And they're all unwrapped, so you can see the marked seams that I've put in, and under these things as well. All right, so each one has been unwrapped, nothing special. Sometimes I used Smart UV Project, sometimes I just unwrapped them myself. And so like I say, each one has its own UV, so there's that one, to sort of maximize the resolution. Not that it's going to matter that much anyhow. So I've got them all here in this one file, and I want to work on them and just show you what I'm going to do. All right, so I'm going to come over to Substance Painter, and you can see I've got them all in here, and I've baked the mesh maps already. And in my texture set list, you can see there's the material or texture set for sign 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so we're going to start working on this with sign 1. I'm going to delete the default layer, and I'm going to add a fill layer, and I'm going to create sort of a metal here. And I'm just going to do this quick, and there might be some changes that I want to make in the future, but I'm going to change the base color. I'll just bring the roughness up a little bit. I want it too shiny, kind of like that. And then I'm going to add a filter, and the filter I'm going to add is this matte finish one, matte finish rough. I do this quite often, and we're just going to do that. There's not going to be too much to these signs. I just want to do something like that. And so I've got that part there, and I'm going to add dirt right now to this. So add another fill, color, and roughness. Bring the roughness all the way up, and the color I'll make it dark brown, like that. We'll add a black mask and a generator, and just use the dirt generator, and then tone it down a little bit like that. All right, so I have some basic dirt and basic rust on there, sort of basic metal and basic dirt. And what I'll do is I'll call that dirt, I'll call this metal, and then I'll come up and I'll do one more fill, and I'll choose just color, and I'll leave it on white. And I'll add a black mask, a generator, and metal edges. And then I'll just bring that down quite a bit, just so it just touches the edges. All right, and that's edges. And I'm going to select all of these and go Control G to put them in a folder, and I'll just call this base. And I'm going to copy this to all of the signs. So I'll take that copy layer, I'll come to sign 2, get rid of the default layer, and paste. So I'll be on there. I mean, you can make changes based on the size of it and all, but I'm not going to bother. All right, I'll paste it there, and we will paste it there. Now there's one more thing I could have done and included in that folder, but I figured I'd do it separately. I'm going to come back to sign 1, and where I want my letters, I want to make this sort of a black, pretty high roughness surface for that. So I'm just going to come onto that main layer, and I'm going to add a fill and a black mask, and I'll come over here to my polygon fill, and I'll probably choose UV chunk because I've got it. Nah, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just choose that. And I want just that front surface selected there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that. Actually, I'm going to put color and roughness. I'm going to bring the roughness up quite a bit and sort of a black. And so my letters will go on there like that. And that's how I decided I would do it. All right, so I'm going to call this black. And I want that on all of my signs, so I'm going to copy that, come to sign 2 and paste. But nothing's happening, and that's because I have to change the mask. I mean, the mask I selected here, so I'm going to have to clear that and then go back to here and then just select that front and double check that it's just inside there. Or I have to do that for each of them. So I'm going to come to sign 3. I'm going to paste. I'll clear the mask and I'll make a new one by selecting there. And we'll do that on sign 4 as well. All right, so I've got that on all of them and I'm ready to go. All right, so I want to add some emission to this part here, these sort of tube-like things. And the way I'm going to do that, this is sign 1, so let's go back to sign 1. All right, I'm going to add a fill and a black mask. And now I'm going to come to my polygon fill again. I think I will switch to mesh now, because these were separate meshes, and I'm going to select all of these. There we go. So they're all selected. And what I want here is I'm going to want a color, but I'm going to want an emission as well, and I don't have that channel. So I'm going to come to my texture set settings, and you can see that I don't have it here. So I'm going to click the plus and choose emissive, and now it shows up, and I'm going to select that as well. And now I'm going to change my color. All right, so let's try just going with the red. And for the base color, I often do a similar. You can pull this around and see how it affects your emission. Something like that looks kind of cool, but it's not glowing very much. And so what I'm going to do is two things. I'm going to come over here. Actually, I'll go to this one. And here I have the first parameters. I have emissive intensity. I start pulling that up. That's going to make it a little bit brighter. And the second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to here to activate post effects. I'm going to click there. I'm going to turn on glare. Now it's going to probably be a little bit too bright actually for us. So I'm going to turn that on and switch this to bloom. It didn't actually change very much. So let's go back to the emissive intensity. That seems to have come down. So now I can see that sort of glowing. I don't want it too bright at this point. And I'll adjust that in Blender as well. Okay, so I've got those glowing, and what I think I'll do is a similar thing over on, let's do that, we'll just call that tubes. Let's do the same thing over on sign 4 and just get that out of the way. So add fill, I'm going to want color, I'm going to want emissive as well, so I have to put it on here, emissive, I'm going to want both of those. Set this one. You won't see anything yet. Let's do it. All right, it's gone on everything, as you can see. So add a black mask, polygon fill, and I want it on the tube. And it's already glowing and it's quite intense. And that's because I've got this set on sort of blue and white. And we'll start with that. Okay, the combination of colors will influence how bright it glows. But again, like I said, we're going to adjust that in Blender. So I got both of those going, and hopefully that doesn't give you a headache. Sometimes that glare is too much. All right, so we need to get some glowing letters on this. So let's turn that off for the moment. Let's come back to sign 1. And I'm going to snap to orthographic there, or put it in orthographic so we can snap to the front. And put something on here. So it's just a question of, do we want to write it or do we want to use something already prepared? Let's see what I've got prepared. Let's add resource. Now I have been working on something, and I've got this symbols here. So let's open this up. I'm going to bring it in as an alpha just to my current session. I don't need it after that. So this is what it is. I don't really have anything vertical except for this sushi word you see on the right there. But I'm going to use that for another sign. So I think I'm going to write something on here. I do have a coffee cup though, don't I? All right, let's do this then. Let's add, now we'll do it as we'll add a fill, a black mask. The fill is where we're going to decide our emission in color. So let's go, I'm going to try like yellow or something. Yellow or gold or something on that line. Just do that and see what that combination gives us. On the black mask, I'm going to add a paint. Open that up and you can see stencil here. I'm going to drag that in. And now I've got my stencil here. I can press S and push. You can see my stencil there with I've got a coffee cup, I've got all these words. I'm just going to move as I normally would. And if I zoom in, I want to see it a little closer, let's say like this. I want the coffee cup down here. I can press S and then move my mouse in or out by holding the right mouse button. And then I can just get things the size that I want. I'm going to do that, and then I want to choose a hard brush like that. And then I'm just going to paint over this. And if I get too much, like if I start getting that, I can always shut off the stencil, go to the eraser, and just erase that out. So I now have a glowing coffee cup, and I can still come back here, and I can play with, the colors. That's not affecting it as much, but I can do this, whatever. I'll leave it like that. And so, yeah, I think I'm going to write maybe coffee or something there. I don't know how reasonable this is, but for the signs, but that's what I'm going to do. So I may do it in the same thing. So on the black mask, I can add another paint layer. And I'll come to my alphas and font and choose a font. Now I'll just go with that. And over here, I'm going to caps lock C and then space down O, F, F, E, E. And we'll make it bold. And I'll increase the size. Now it doesn't fit in there, so I'm going to decrease the size here until it fits. And then I'll increase the size here. And you can go past 100. I'll try 200. And I'll try even more than that, 220. It'll probably go more than that, but just to give you an idea. Well, yeah, let's do it. Let's go 230. All right. And it's going to click. And let's come back to there. I now have my one in there. Let's go to perspective. We have a little problem back there, but we'll fix that. So there's that. And I can still change them together. If I want to do that kind of a thing. Now that's a little intense, but you get the idea. Let's do that for now. All right, well, we're going to need to fix this up. We can just erase that. So let's come back to the paint layer. Let's find out which one it's on. It's on this layer. So I'm going to clear the alpha. So I'm back to a regular brush, or I can choose a brush over here, just basic hard brush. Come to my eraser, and let's make sure the hardness is all the way up. And just come in here and just erase that, which sometimes happens. Okay. So I've got my first sign down. Whether or not the yellow and the red works, I don't know. This is just for demonstration purposes. Okay, let's do the next sign, which is sign 2. It's that one there. Okay, make sure orthographic. All right, so sign 2. Now for this one, I want to put some symbols in squares. So let's do this. I'm going to create a paint layer. And yeah, what I want to do is a fill layer. Let's do it as a fill layer. Here's where we're going to do color, and we need our emission. So let's add it. And emissive. I'm just going to start with anything right for the moment. I'm going to add a black mask and a paint, and I'm going to come to my alphas and I'm going to search for square, and I want this one here. Make sure you're on the brush so you can see that there. And let's see, a little bit less roundness, something like that. Okay, something like that, but I think I want 4 or 5 of them there. And so this one's going to be a little trial and error. I want all of these size and flow and angle all at 0. I'm just going to up the spacing, and I'm going to click and hold Shift and Control, come to the end, and see how many I got. I got 4 there. I'm going to decrease the spacing, but erase that. See if I can get 5. No, not quite. So again, just trial and error until I get 5. There's 5, and they're spaced okay, but it's a little bit over to the side here versus there, but that's okay. I can use that, I think. So now I'm going to add a filter, and I'm going to use the transform filter, so right near the bottom there. And I want to slide these over in the Y, so I'm going to just sort of nudge that over to about there. So now I have those. I can still change the emission on that if I don't want that here. I can come up to here, and as you can see, okay, but I'm going to leave that white for now. And so now I want some symbols in there. So this is boxes. I may have forgotten to do some labeling on the other sign, so I don't always do it. I don't want to add another paint to this one because I want them in different color emission. So I'm going to add another fill, and it's going to be color and emission. And let's just do the color right now, like a sort of a cyan kind of, you know, something like that. And I'll just tone it down with another blue. We'll do something like that. We'll add a black mask. I will add a paint. And so if I was to just click in there, you can see I would have that. All right, so I want to get some letters in there. Now, do I still have my symbols here? I've got this one here. All right, these are some other symbols. These ones I found on Pinterest, and they need to be black background with a white foreground. The symbols are white. All right, so you just search for Asian symbols or something like that. I don't even know what this is, but I'm going to be using it anyhow. All right, so I'm going to drag that into, let's get rid of this alpha. I'm going to drag this into the stencil. And there it is, and I'm going to increase the size. I want to be able to see all 5 of my boxes. S and pull to make these bigger. And hopefully this is going to look okay. I'm just going to move this a little bit, and let's see. Okay, I'm going for this one here, so I'm going to S and pull and just get this one in the middle, something like that, and I'm just going to write over it, paint over it. Oh, looks like I got a little bit of the other one, so I'm just going to decrease the size of my brush, and let's do that. And basically I'm painting with emission. So there's that one. Okay, there's my, let's go for maybe this one now. let's say maybe this one. Like I say, I have no idea what these mean. It probably has nothing to do with my scene, but might look cool. I hope it does. That one, maybe this one up here. And let's go one more, maybe just this simple kind of one here. Okay, we did it. All right, let's clear the stencil now. And yeah, so with that in there, there's something that I want to do to this. I want to try a filter on here. So there's my painted layer. I'm going to add another filter, and I'm going to use the bevel filter. Watch this. So it tightens it up and also reduces some of the emission. And you can play with this value, and you may get a slightly better effect depending on what your symbol is like. Okay, so we've got those ones going. Let's turn that back on so I don't forget about that one. Okay, let's move on. Let's go on to sign 3 and quickly do that one. Switch back to orthographic. I'll add my fill, color, and well, I'm going to need my emissive. And emissive. So what have I got? Let's go for something green. Green there. Put some green in here. Maybe we'll adjust that green. All right, well, we'll start with that. Let's put a black mask in a paint. And let's use, do I still have that somewhere? I don't know where it is, so I'm just going to bring it in again. This symbols here. Alpha. Current session. Yeah, there it is anyhow. I'm going to drop that on there. And how about we go for, let's change the size of this, open 24/7. So I'm just moving this so that my text is right in the middle of it, or close as I can get it. And I'm going to trace over there. All right, open 24/7. Let's get rid of the stencil. Hopefully that's okay. And maybe we can put something like an arrow or something on there. Do I want to move that over a little bit? Let's say I did. Let's add a filter, a transform filter. Maybe I want to move that over there. Give myself enough room for an arrow. So let's search for arrow. And what? That one. We'll do this on the paint layer. So I got that. I think I will, let's have it point downwards. Is that up? That's up. Okay. That's fine right there. Okay, so there's that one, and of course I can play with the colors to get a little bit more of that emissive going on there. Like that. All right, let's do one more of these. Let's do another sushi thing, or let's do up the first sushi using the stencil. So here we are here. So this was, okay, this was what I missed labeling the tube. And don't forget to save once in a while. Fill layer, color. I do have emission already. And we'll go for a red kind of color here. We'll start with that. Black mask and paint layer. And we need that stuff there. Where is it then? Those symbols. There they are. Okay, so I'm going to come over to my, I'll get rid of that alpha, come over to my stencil, drop that in, and I'm going to use this word sushi this time. So S and scale it down. Just trying to get the size as best I can. And it looks a little small, but sushi. You can put some other symbols in there if you want. But there are my signs just like that. Haven't really been looking at the backs to check them. All right, so let's say that we are happy with that. All right, so it's time now to export this and see what it looks like in Blender. We've got our materials, so I'm going to come to File, Export Textures. There they are. The output template I'm going to use is PBR Metallic Roughness. In this template, I have emissive. Here it is here. I've got an emissive, so you're going to need that. And I will take that and I'll put that in that folder there. 8-bit is okay for me for my export PNG. I'm okay with that. So there they all are. So let's go back to Blender now, to Shading tab. All right, so select Sign 1 and click on the principled. Shift Control T, scroll down to where you have the textures. It's this one, Signs All Video, down to the roughness, and it comes in, but it's not glowing. I don't need this displacement node, but I'm going to use this image map here. I'm going to open up the Sign 1 emissive. So I've got that, and all I have to do is connect the color to the emission. I'll leave the strength at about 12. I've set that at 12. And now my sign is glowing. This is Sign 2, so let's do that one. Shift Control T, down here, base color to roughness, principal texture setup, but it's not glowing, so we'll do the same thing. We'll get rid of the displacement, but use this node here. So this is Sign 2 emissive. Open that, connect the color to the emission, and set your strength. And I've got it set at 12, but you don't have to use 12. Okay? You could use something less than that, or more than that. Shift Control T, we'll do Sign 3. Let's make it glow. So Sign 3 emissive, there it is. Great. Oh, that looks good. And Sign 4. We'll have a bunch of parts that'll have Sign 4 on it. Okay, we'll select that one there. Shift Control T, Sign 4 base color to roughness. And the same thing. Connect it. All right. Let's go back to layout and let's try either way. It doesn't really matter. So there are our signs. And just one quick thing, if you wanted to change the color, let's say on sign, what's that? 1, 2, 3. Let's choose Sign 3. There, let's do this. One quick thing you could do is come down here where on the emissive branch, I'm going to add just to add a color ramp. And you can see it's white now, and whatever you set this at, green, blue. There you go. All right, so if I didn't like having two colors here on this first one, I could just drop a color ramp on here, and I could make them both yellow or something along that line. All right, so at that point, I mean, I can take this and I can make copies of that sign if I want and put it wherever it needs to be. I don't know why I do that, but okay. All right, so I mean, in the final scene, my signs may differ a little bit, and I may end up using some 3D stuff as well, and I've created an arrow. But, you know, these signs will generally be the ones that you've seen me create. All right, well, that's it for the moment. We'll be back with more updates. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.